Hello everybody and welcome to the VCT Game Changers North America. Over the next few days, 8 teams will be battling out for that Series 1 title. I'm your host Yingsu, and as you guys can see, I'm joined by the ever so dashing Mansili and the Aussie Queen, Jess. Welcome guys. Jess, this has got to be the record for the most time zones represented on a single desk, I reckon.
You know, that's all they had to do was bring on an Australian. They said, checkmate, we've got Jess in, and we've got the other time zones, and we've got the diversity of the other regions. So we're checking every box here today.
I'm super excited about this one. I'm actually glad that I'm on the side of this panel because we got some beautiful ladies with some beautiful dresses. We got some Versace out here. I'm just with my H&M. I don't even know what's going on anymore.
No, you look great, Mansili, as always. Now, of course, we wouldn't be here without the Game Changers initiative. Game Changers is designed to provide experience and a spotlight to elevate the women in the VALORANT competitive community. Competing in games as a woman can be a daunting task, oftentimes resulting in very real competitive disadvantage. But starting this month, the Game Changer series and the Game Changers Academy will create a whole new set of competitions with the goal of building the VALORANT Champions Tour that better represent the diversity of our community. Amen. The VCT Game Changer series will be a set of top tier tournaments for those of you guys at home who aren't so familiar, with large prizes on the line for the best performing teams. These competitions will take place all around the world, with the first one, of course, starting this weekend right here in North America.
Boom.
Jess, what a great initiative. I'm honestly, I cannot say better things about this than I already have.
You know, probably the biggest thing I can sort of draw in personally is I started my esports career as a player. I know how difficult it was. I mean, I was playing competitive back in 2015. I've been through it all. I know what it's like. So for these women right now to have this that we didn't technically have back in the day, this is so, so important.
Yeah, I come from a different game, another tactical FPS, and they actually did have their tournaments for like full women, and I just love the competition that we saw in that game, and we saw some errors happen as well. I'm thinking about SK Ladies or even the G3X back then of like 2003, 2005. So it's nice that now VALORANT, they kick things off so fast for Riot, and we already have one circuit going out for the women. And I'm just honored and blessed actually, because this is your show, this is your light, and you've accepted me into the scene, and I appreciate that.
And also, thanks for bringing me back to NA. It's been a while. I'm super, super excited to kind of check in and see how everything has been going on. And speaking of that, we do have 3 best of 3s coming up today. So let's take a look at the schedule so you guys know exactly what is happening and what to expect. Kicking things off in the first quarterfinals, Cloud9 White will be taking on Man I Love Fwogs. I will be saying Frogs from now on because y'all don't want to hear my accent pronounce that W for the rest of the day. But of course, following that, CLG Red will be taking on Owa Owa. And at the end of the day, we'll also bring you guys a lower bracket matchup as well. So let's take a look at that bracket now. We know what the schedule is, so you guys know sort of the format and everything that's going to be going on. Of course, I said earlier, 8 teams, double elimination, a lot on the line here at Vansili. But of course, losing today, unless it's in that lower bracket, it's not the end of the world.
Exactly. I mean, there's second chances, and even going into the finals, it's a best out of 5. Even getting into the top 8 was amazing because we actually have 32 wonderful teams that actually compete against each other. We had 8 groups of 4. They went into group stages. You had the round of 32s, and now you have your final 8. And when you look at these 8 teams, rather, it's actually a stacked bracket. Out of this, I mean, you have the top orgs right now that we currently know in VALORANT. We have the appearance of CLG. TSM's already there. TSM's actually winning pistol rounds for once. I think this is great to see.
You know, the one you really got to point out there, though, especially if you're a big fan of Annie like I am, is C9 White. Look to the top of your screen there. They're going up against Fwogs. That's our first matchup. So for the team that I'm most excited for, I'm so glad that it's C9 we get to cast first fans, because that is a team full of some stacked gunners.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's talk about this matchup. This is going to be the first quarterfinals between these two teams, C9Y and Fwogs, of course. We know who C9Y are. You know, they've kind of grown into this team we love. They've sort of proven themselves, not just, you know, in the female scene, but also over the past few months when they have taken down other tier 2 and tier 1 teams in North America as well. But yeah, talk me through this team, Vansili, you know, because we know who they are and we know how they got here, but why have they been such a big threat?
I think it's with the big brains of Melanie, right? Mel coming into the captain as the IGL has been doing great, actually calling for this. They have immense firepower with the rest of the players that they have for the team. And also, we have to note out that they have a 6-player roster too. So the 6-player roster, at first, we know how Jazzikin is young and she has school. They actually have 2 players that are actually still full-time students. So to find a time to actually to have that roster, to play in such a deep map pool, it's great now to have that 6-player roster to allow that deep map pool that we would eventually see for Cloud9 White.
It works for them, doesn't it? And I think that's something that teams are slowly looking into the future for. They're going, all right, not only do we need a sub, because at the end of the day, you know, things happen. Got incidents going on. We need someone to sub in last minute. No problems. We've got someone. But it also allows these people to live a broader lifestyle that was otherwise not available before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I got school. I got this. What am I going to do? No worries. We've got enough women to fill that sub stack to cap in for you. So that's what we like about these 6-woman rosters or 6-people rosters that we got going on at the moment.
And what I do like about it, actually, if you're looking at this roster too, talking about their deep map pool, because the ones that they're subbing in are always going to play that same map. We'll talk about it a little bit later once we have the map pool and the vetoes, but it's nice to see. And even going into a map like Icebox, for example, if it actually goes into Icebox, or sorry, it's split. Somebody like Annie Dro, who usually plays a Sova, is actually even going to sit out into that map to allow the other 2 players to play in. So as much as you like to say that it's going to be Jazzikin or Alexis Marie that only plays 2 maps each, they're both going to play that 5th map, which is going to be split. So it's deep what they have for Cloud9 White.
Well, that is their advantage, right? Because this is a team that's been together for a while now. They've had time to gel and they've had time to get all of the maps knuckled down. And as we can see, as we go through this tournament, is that there's not that much data for some of the other teams who have sort of just come together over the last couple months. So they might, you know, maybe struggle against a team like C9 White. But Jess, you know, moving on to the sort of their challengers, Fwogs, who are these ladies and how do they get to the point they have now?
Well, as Van sort of got to point out, for C9 White, there's a lot of big names that you're already going to know. And then you look to Fwogs and you're like, oh, I don't really know a lot of these players. I can't really search up a lot of them. You can Google a couple of their names, but it's mostly Twitters that come up. But they're still big hitters. They made it through the group, so you can't underestimate them in any form. But they were the lowest seed coming into the finals, of course. We're out playoffs now, and as a result, they are technically going to be rated the lowest, but I still don't think that that's going to be the case jumping into this game. They did manage to say, and I think it was you who brought this up, Yinsu, the fact that Ali said that she really looks up to these players. She's inspired by C9 White. She's hoping to get in and get, you know, down and dirty into the game because she has the VODs that they don't have on them. So that's probably the clear advantage here that I think Fwogs will have over C9 White is they've got the VODs, C9 White don't.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yinsu. Jess, it is time. You and I kicking it off, and we are starting in the quarterfinals for Cloud9 White. And also, man, I love Fwogs. I almost did the acronym, but we're not going into it. We're looking at Bind. This is actually going to be something very fun because Cloud9 White, this is also going to be the first time in this tournament that we will see Astra.
Yeah, that's the huge thing as well. A lot of people aren't going to be familiar with Astra as an agent. You know, even myself, I'm still looking through a lot of the abilities going, all right, how does this affect a round? How are you going to use this, you know, whether it's a retake scenario, whether it's just going to be an execute on the site. How are you going to use Astra? However they use it, I'm interested to see the new meta.
Definitely, and Cloud9 White to start things off, we have 4 ladies that are getting ready to go aggressively towards this mid side, and just talking about Astra, as you mentioned here just now, Jess, we do have Astra putting up that first smoke so they could try to hide into it, but things stay quiet as it seems as though for Fwogs, they really want to try to take the extremities.
Yeah, why not? Look it over to your little mini-map there. It's a cluster of the blue over towards A, and that's where they want to hold off on to begin with. We said that Frogs were going to be aware of some of those push points here for C9 White. Are they aware? Yes. Look at Annie. She's surely around A crossfire now, and it looks like a teammate of Katie. She'll come zooming through to make it a play. And this pistol round, I tell you what, I didn't expect, either team to be a bit of a smashing coming into it, Vans, but C9, they're showing that that's why there's C1 team or C2 team coming into this tournament.
Definitely, and now Dinos has to pick up the spike. She's on her own with one more teammate, but they are split off across the map. Technically, they do have a sandwich versus Cloud9 White, but it's also a 1 versus 4 on both extremities. So we do have the spike falling back towards the B site. We have Clefairy who's moving back towards the spawn to cut the rotation too, and I love the setup. The camera to watch the rotation, and now the spike is also going to be planted with C9 White coming on the rotation.
Well, it's a 2v4. I mean, Vans, what do you expect? Do you think the retake can happen? It's pistol round. You might as well go all the way in. You're not got anything to lose here, really.
100%. They're waiting for the smoke to dissipate. They also have the recon dart that can come out too, and they're just going to drop down. But Clefairy's in the back of the site. That's going to be Katie to fall first. But they are holding down as much as they can. Dinos is only going to be able to take one more, and the defuse will come back for Mel, as that was basically a ball of trades for Cloud9 White coming out into this B site.
They're really good post-plan positions as well. I mean, even though you're going up against a 2v4, and then once you get that first initial kill or 2v3, it doesn't really matter. The crossfires are still strong. Even as the smoke dissipates, it doesn't matter if your position's given up. You know your teammates got your crossfire from across the site. Really well done. Good first round. Good momentum boost here for C9. And if you're Frogs, you want to stop that as soon as possible. But when you got pistols going up against, is that a bulldog I see over there? All I'm saying is it's going to be a difficult round here.
The Bulldog picked up by Katie, the latest addition to Cloud9 White, coming over from Counter-Strike Go into this roster. She's been a dominant player in the Counter-Strike scene, playing with Team Mythic, which is Flom's team, and now with C9 White having a full salary, going straight into this game. Being flawless so far for Cloud9 White as Kat gets the first blood down towards short A. Lynn, the first to fall, she was trying to dash through. And you see here for Fwogs, they actually have a triple duelist, so they have to play very aggressively.
Oh, that aggression. It didn't really work out in the end, Vance. Look at that. Stuck all the way over in lamps, and that's a flawless round to come out. That is what I expected from a team who gets that momentum from pistol round, goes in the second round. I mean, if you're sitting there going, whoa, C9, they're looking crazy good. Hey, hush down a little bit. It's only been 2 rounds, and the momentum after the pistol round is expected to go into the hands of C9 White. I'm giving it until we got that first gun round when I can really make a good judgment here of Frogs as to whether they are going to be a serious contender here in this map and into future maps.
100%, because you're looking at Cloud9 White right now. They won the first, they won the second. They pretty much went flawless on that second round too, so they're going to bonus into this round. So even if Frogs wins this round, they're still going to have a lot of money for C9 White, so the test is not over yet for the ladies over on the attacker side. And Katie is going to try to draw first blood outside both showers. That control being very important. And a pinch at the same time, so Katie's dashing in from the other extremity, and she's going to get the headshot onto Lynn. Meanwhile, they have dropped down to even the tally up on a 3 versus 3. Ellie trying to watch this flank towards the market side, the wall bang onto Alexis, and things starts very well for Frogs on a 3 versus 1 remaining.
I mean, if you want anyone left on C9 Vans, it's Annie, because she's going to be the one that can absolutely take this cool, calm, collected zoom around the corner, and it's almost like cast a curse. Ali will take her out with a headshot, and Annie can't really do much, and it doesn't matter how well you talk up a player here, Vans. If you've got too many man advantage or woman advantage, what are we going to call this? It's usually the term's man advantage, but I know.
Player's advantage?
Players advantage. Let's go with that.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Too many players advantage on the side of Frogs there. And I said, don't discount Frogs because they're hopping into the game finally.
And what I do like about C9 so far is the past 3 rounds, they've put a lot of emphasis on taking short A control. On the pistol, when they're going to rush through, they could fight back. On the retake on showers, you saw at the beginning when they took Sands, they could actually pinch in towards this area. But finally, now that we have technically a full gun round for both of these teams, it could be kind of low though because they did lose a lot of players for Frogs. There's going to be more of a default setup now for C9 White.
Well, there was a lot of A pressure last round, and it was quite swift this round, taking things a little bit more passively. And that's what I would expect, especially when you want to keep a lot of these weapons. You can look over to Fwogs right now, and they're the ones that want to be able to keep all of the weapons they can. That bolt is going to give a little bit of an indication to C9 White exactly where some of those players are. And I think Alexis will be the first one to have to go head-to-head with the Jet here. This could go really bad or really good really quickly.
I just saw in the X-ray though, somebody was watching that flanking. Katie pushed all the way out too, so two ladies pushing out towards Shower's control. They're trying to trade it out, and it works out. So Katie is out on a deserted island. She's gonna have to take down as many as she can before she falls, and she's only good for one. Now Ellie twitches back with two more teammates, moving back towards the short A, but that Nebula just got popped up here by Katsumi. That doesn't allow for them to get any of that map control later on.
God, Astra's ability is so gorgeous, especially when you hit that bird's eye view on it. Paint shells will rain out. Unfortunately, doesn't get the color that they want. And as a result, now it's going to be an even player count. 20 seconds left, Vans, and you can see that camera feeding all the intel from the good jump, and you can't miss those shots. All of a sudden now it's going to have to be a Soba to try and attempt the retake. As the player goes down, the wallbangs miss, and Vans, this is a tricky retake. Do they have enough utility to work with here?
They tried so much. The Sova darts, the two shock darts, they couldn't get the wallbang either. And now even the neural theft coming out from Fwogs allows the last two to get spotted from C9 White. So they know one's in hookah, one's in spawn. Annie's going to try to move in closely, but there's one just inside the cubby. There's going to be a perfect crossfire setup. The first one of bait, but the flick still comes perfectly out for Annie Dro. She gets both them down. Meanwhile, Cat has dropped the third player. A beautiful retake for C9 White. And now 3-1 also on the scoreboard.
Now, this is what we were talking about before. We said that C9 had a great setup for their crossfires. You know what's lacking for Fwogs? Good crossfires. They're set up in really good post-player positions, but no one's acting on the crossfire. You should never let a player cross in the middle of your crossfire and take two 1v1s. That should never happen, especially when you got numbers advantage there. That's a shame there for Fwogs. That was a round that could have gone their way. Now we're hitting the 3-1 on the scoreboard, and look at the big carry, Katie.
Oh man, and even then, looking at Cloud9 White on that retake too, right? They had the luck of the timing, I guess, versus Fwogs, because you looked at the position as you mentioned, Jess. They had one in the cubby, one towards a shoulder, and they were really focusing more on hookah instead of spawn side, thinking it was going to be the first point of contact, but it wasn't the case. C9 White, like we said, makes it 3-1, and they're looking for this map control now for the attackers of Fwogs towards this long B side.
A really good indication that multiple of the attackers were over near that fountain area. We got that drone that spotted that out early on. Does that mean a rotate occurs? Probably not. Maybe they're just sussing out the site as it exists. A dink from across from Hookah is going to alert C9 that, they're a lot closer than they expected. And surely now a couple of the other defenders will work out that they may have to rotate at some point because they don't know if this is a switch and bait yet, Vans. They don't want to be too early on that call.
Well, now that Dinos also shot from the Octagon side, they know there's at least two players now towards this B side. And looking at that minimap, you see that Spike also rotating. And we're about to have this hit towards this B side. And also, this Brimstone ultimate. If it's going towards Elbow, it's going to do so much damage to allow Fwogs to get into the site.
You want to see that pop off. You want to see this be an explosive round, and explosive it will be. Here comes the blaze. Oh, but can't make anything out of that. Oh, what a shame. It's Katie. She doesn't miss. Look at the headshots raining down. It's a blue tsunami on your kill feed there. And all of a sudden, Katie the carry, she's really going to take this nickname and absolutely run with it.
Even then, you mentioned it, Jess, when they were fighting on that long-range battle from spawns in also into Hookah versus Ellie Twitches, she was down to 57 HP. So looking back into the spawn site, for her to still get an ace and still come out with 57 HP, that means that she had perfect cover as well from Mel's cyber cages that were popped up on the right side of the site.
Oh, my heart is racing here, and probably more for C9 White than it is for Fwogs. I think their heart's going to be racing for a much different reason here. They're going to attempt to try and retake some of those rounds and the buffer that they've got between the winning and the losing, at least in this first half. Good early use of some of that utility, especially intel collection. That's what I love to see. We've got the Cypher on both sides of the coin here. And I think what they've been able to do is collect really good intel from those cams. None of it's really come to a T yet. It's mostly come to mechanical fights. But I do think as the rounds sort of slow down a little bit, Cypher's going to become extra important for those flanks as well.
100%. You mentioned it. Sometimes no information is good information too, right? They had the camera towards Sands. Doesn't see anybody, so they know the hit is coming on the A side for C9 White, so they have to defend it. 4 players already rotated on this side, and Junifor as that Phoenix. She's going to put the wall up. We have some stars being popped down too, trying to go with the gravity well, and they push one into the portal to try to fake the rotation for Fwogs, but we are still holding strong for Cloud9 White. The push coming in from the showers. Alexis gets the first blood. We're holding our grounds in the backlines. We're letting them in, and we're also dropping them. Cloud9 taking the advantage. Cat now trying to spray through the double boxes. Katie now with the knives out. She's only got one left as she whisks a few towards that Brimstone. At least a spike has been planted, and as I get it, I do get the caster blessing. I call her out on the knives. She gets 2 out of them after.
I'll be the one that dips out on the caster curse, and you give the caster blessing. And I think that's how it's going to go for a lot of these rounds from now on, ladies and gentlemen, because, oh my goodness, if it's not me looking at Katie, it's me looking over at Annie, it's me looking over to all C9, wondering whether or not there's really a big weakness that they have yet. Is there a part of them that I'm sitting there going, actually, I don't foresee them winning this map? Well, not so far. They've just been really powerful with the way that they're holding off. I do think, however, it's not fair of me to sort of criticize Fwogs yet, because it's been quite difficult to take the spike, get it in, hold off, and then just attacking rates as a whole. Vans, talk me through, especially for the viewers that don't really know this game very well, attacking win rates can oftentimes be much lower than defending, depending on the map.
100%, and even if you're looking at the situation of the pistol rounds, right, when you're playing a game that's only max rounds 12, then it's also the economy comes into a huge importance into it. So for them to win that gun round versus a bonus, but already comes out on low economy, they're looking low for the rest of the game. That last round that they got a plant for Fwogs, they're on a half buy. So this is finally that their money's right. They have a couple of ultimates to work with where they could definitely try to switch things over and turn things around in their favor. Oh no, especially with that actually it's an, oh yes, it's an aggressive push from Cat that got denied by Lynn.
Hey, both of these jets are popping off with the operator at the moment. That's what we like to see, a good jet with a good operator play. Both of them will get 1 for the piece, and I think overall for now, as things start to quieten down, Showers control is where they're looking to go. There's 1, but you can't get 2 as it's traded very quickly by Clefairy. Putting a little bit of magic dust over there into Showers, but A is the target, Vans, and they're going to make it happen.
Exactly, they cleared it out with the run it back from Juna 4, but the counter comes out from Manny Dro, denying that plant, at least for now, and Mel is still alive inside the site. She's trying to hold things down as long as she can to allow the rotation from her teammates, but it doesn't pay off. Cypher diff. Clefairy takes the upper hand, and the spike is now planted as Annie Dro looking for rotation with Katie with the op.
She doesn't really have a good line of sight yet, but they can wait it out a little bit longer. They'll get rid of the cam to make sure they're not spotted out. And well, they really do think that there's someone playing mid of sight, but they're not. They're backed all the way up. And in fact, you're going to see them move all the way back towards TP. And well, now they know they can block off the line of sight, possibly even bait the defuse here, Vans. But they have no idea where they are. They're actually all over in lamps. Is that where they are?
They know. The recon dart came out too. They know the last players are on short A. Their trade comes out, and he gets the last one. Does she have enough time as it's ticking down onto that spike? It's going to be close, but she should get it now to allow Cloud9 White to move ahead 6-1.
Why do I feel like it's just Annie over an A? Always.
I mean, like, the utility that you have from Silva, you see how they're setting things up right now for Cloud9 White, right? They're always putting Annie Dro towards this B side and putting a lot of emphasis and focus towards the A side. Why? Because if the recon dart comes out, or an Al Drone spots a bit of information, or there's any type of aggression, well, Cat, her stars could be thrown anywhere across the map. She could do it from the A side, slow things down with gravity wells, trying to daze them up as well with the Nova Pulse. And if it doesn't happen, and they hit towards the A side for Fwogs, then you already have 3-4 players there.
Well, there you go. Looks like C9 could do it all. They're very prepared with all of their utility. Speaking of utility, that's going to give Annie the indication that it is probably going to be a pretty hard push through hookah.
Yeah.
They can fake it out and bait it though, and that's going to be almost a dink happening over towards Fountain. If they can hold off on this long spot, and I'm thinking for Katie here, the big thing holding off on this angle is if once that smoke dissipates, you're in such a crucial power position. Doesn't matter. Katie says, I don't need the smoke to dissipate. I can do it through it.
It's one of those moments, if you come from Counter-Strike, it's like, hey, there's a pop flash, counter 3, and shoot. Same thing right now with the smoke coming down. She counts to 3, she gets the shot. At the same time, Frogs have lost their battle for hookah control at the beginning of the round 2. So to sum it up now, it's a 5-on-2 in favor of Cloud9 White. Clayberry, with her teammate now as the Phoenix, being Juna4, have to work together with this. But look at the amount of traps that are being set up. You got stars being placed towards the short A. You got stars being placed towards the teleporter too. They're trying to have everything on lock, and it's going to be probably a contact for C9 White. Oh my god.
Oh my
How is
god,
that going to happen? That is a gravity well, going for the spray through the blaze wall, and the second kill onto Juna4. And that is map denial through any obstruction so far, Jess. They're not having a chance even walking through any type of smokes or blaze wall to get map control for Fwogs.
You know, that's terrifying. I would be sitting there as the Fwogs players or even the support staff sitting behind the scenes right now going, you know what? We're using our utility to the right effect. We are walling. We are making sure that we're smoking the way that we need to block and obstruct lines of sight. And C9, they must be doing scrims somewhere, somehow, where they just shoot through smoke. They're just like, all right, girls, where do you think we need to shoot? Okay, shoot through here. That should be about head height. Yeah, that'll do. And that's how I feel it's been going for C9 White.
Oh boy, the showstopper down towards the market. Very aggressive, as you notice as well. Katie is going with a Vandal, leaving the operator for Mel, so they could actually double up towards the short. So much map has been given away from the Fwogs. Look at them. They're all close down towards that spawn sign, and that was a beautiful push.
I love an early Raze aggressive push as well, because when you play it right, you can collect a couple of players early on. C9, Annie coming out and showing what C9 White can do, and that's a good shot. A missed opportunity there for Katie, though. She's been popping off. We said she's the carry. Unfortunately, she misses a couple of really crucial shots there, but they still have the numbers advantage, and guess what? That's going to be elevated by Alexis, who goes, alrighty, I'm going to get my shots off as well, and Cat, the play gets down, but that's really nothing said or done, really, for C9 White. I mean, Vans, what are we going to say about Fwogs now? They were able to walk away with one round. I thought it might be a little bit of momentum mover. I don't know.
It looked pretty well. It looked pretty good, right? I know they lost a player early into the round at market and from the showstopper, but at least when they're holding back towards spawn, as Cloud9 White has that confidence to continue to press forward. They had perfect trades. They almost had a perfect crossfire, but just a little bit too far behind was Dinos trying to get that wall bang onto Alexis Marie down towards that market into cave. So they have to try to work a little bit better here for Fwogs to be good on these trade setups, because like you mentioned here, Jess, the smokes, everything else that they're doing for Fwogs currently is perfect.
Well, there's going to be some shots raining through that cloud burst to begin with, and C9, they know how that can work in their favor, so you don't want to be on the receiving end of that one. You can see the Cypher dancing through the wall. They're hoping that someone comes peeking on through. And if you're Katie right now, you don't want to give that up. You don't want to get a short-range engagement with the op. They just bait it out with a little bit of a quick peek. Surely a tailwind out of there, but doesn't quite make it. Stuck on the wall. And I think if anyone's got something to do, it's Juna4 here.
I love it, because they've created a diversion. Juna4 is inside the U-Haul with a Bucky at the same time. The spike will go down, and there you go. She does get the kill. Owl drone out from Annie Dro on the rotation, so everybody has already rotated from C9 White. Clock is taking on that spike. We do have the ult from the Astral Storm coming out here, as we are going to try to cross over, but that's going to kill all noise. They don't know if it's actually going to be fully diffused so far. They have to run through, and as they run through, it's a trade for trade. But Juna4 stays alive. She's now in the cubby. She's keeping this spike up, but no, she pulls out a curveball, and Annie Jo gets the timing for the kill. And unfortunately, it's going to be C9 White that's going to take the round overall.
I tell you what, I'm going to call it here right now, Vans. I'm going to say it. The truck spot on A is Annie's domain.
Oh, yeah.
Don't plant there. Don't plant there. Don't go there. Don't challenge her there. Don't do anything there. Okay? If you want to go plant on B. For the love of God. If Annie's still alive, don't do it. Because every single time a plant has happened, she's the one that's been able to get that clutch or the defuse of some kind.
Yeah.
And then it's just completely left Fwogs in the dark. They're 8 rounds in deficit, Van.
You know what else is scary, though? Because if they decide to go B, who's playing there? It's still Annie Dro. So it's a tough one for Fwogs, unfortunately, right now. But like I said, the utility is perfect. I mean, they had the right way to get into U-Control or U-Haul to get the spike down while they were keeping the shower side busy. They notice this right now. You look at C9 White in their position, there's always only maximum 1 player so far for Cloud9 White. They're putting a lot more emphasis, like I said, towards mid-side control.
Well, this is one of the slowest starts to any of the rounds we've had so far. And I suppose when you've got a best of 3 to work with, you do have to slow things down. Shower control desperately being rained for, and that Astra will come popping. Katie shows that she can wield that operator to great effect, and a run it back doesn't really have the effect it needs, although it does spot out the player playing over towards Shroud, and oh no, a quick peek from Katie means it doesn't work.
That's correct, because now as they're focused so much on bench, they had the crossfire from the double box. Now only Clifford by herself as she's able to get Katie in the air. But again, we talk about the trade opportunities, Jess. It seems to be on the upper hand for Cloud9 Wood because those trades always come instantly for the ladies on the defender side so far.
That's probably the biggest indication for me. A team that has really good synergy and coordination and comms is a team that's able to trade almost instantaneously. If you can keep that numbers advantage or just keep it even throughout your match, then that's something that shows me that you're a team that understands the value of player advantage. That's how I'm feeling at the moment. That's why the scoreline's reflected so. I'm hoping that changes because we love an underdog story, but it's feeling pretty one-sided for the moment.
Yeah, especially going with a triple duelist setup right now for Fwogs. I mean, they have a 6-player roster as well, switching over Anyun and Juna4 from time to time, but that's a plug and play. If it's Juna4 not playing and it's Anyun playing, they're still going to play the Phoenix instead. So it doesn't really change much to the synergy or the strategy for the teams of Fwogs. So going with a triple duelist, you have to be fairly aggressive. And you see it, they're trying it, but it's not working out. Mel is doing the same thing. She drops 2, and now it's already a 5-on-2 situation.
Yeah, Annie's read well into this. They know Spike's dropped over towards Fountain. Why not pop a couple of those bolts over towards it so you can collect someone on the run and the retake? Clefairy will be able to collect something back. It's a late trade, but it's a trade nonetheless. And now C9 knows that their positions are given out, but this is just looking like an awful sandwich, a pinch that you can't get out of, all the way over towards Fountain, and it's done. I would say that that was almost as close as you get to a flawless when you lose one of your players, as Mel had already done exceptional damage over towards B-Long.
Oh yeah, and Clefairy, mind you, we actually had this in our notes, and thanking Insu for letting us know it. Clefairy, this is actually the first time that she's playing an FPS, by the way. So playing with
3 months ago?
Yeah, first time she's playing an FPS game, probably not touching any tactical shooters at all, and here you are in the top 8 at least for the Game Changers. And this is great because this is going to be very good experience. You're looking at the interviews of the Fwogs themselves, they're looking up to C9, they're excited for the matchup. The scoreline won't mean much because experience is going to be very important moving forward into other stops of the Game Changers throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't understate that enough as well, because even just in this particular tournament on its own, you could look up to multiple different players, multiple different teams, and know that no matter where you place, mind you, they made it to playoffs. So really, it's not like we even, are going to trash talk them that much. They made it to playoffs. So they're here for a very, very good reason. But they get to turn to other players and go, wow, I went up against whoever their inspiration is. I learned A, B, C, D. I come back next year and I absolutely wreck you. That's what we want. We want to come back next year, and it's a revenge tour here for Fwogs.
And now that you get to move on here to the second half, we do have a technical pause, or maybe even tactical pause, because at this point, that pistol round is oh so crucial for Fwogs to try to come back into this game. What do you think they should do right now on the defender side at this point?
I would say it's going to be a lot easier for them, depending on how aggressive we see C9 get. Sometimes when you see a team, they've got quite a big advantage, especially round count-wise. They might just come out and go, let's just go really aggressive really quickly because we can take them off guard. They're already questioning themselves. It's a bit of a mental game that you can instill in multiple tactical FPS games. Here right now, I don't foresee C9 being that way. I still think they will stick to their usual strategies that they would want to employ. They might be a bit more loose about it. So if I'm looking over to Fwogs, I'm saying to them, keep your crossfires in check. Look at your player next to you. Look at when the site is being pushed. Be aware of your utility and your abilities, and make sure you're not just using it willy-nilly. Make sure it means something, and make sure that you can collect up on the trade of your teammate. That's going to even the numbers and give you better chance.
It makes sense. They're already doubling up very aggressively towards the shower side, but look at all these stars are already set up here on the A side. The Nebula to come towards heaven, and now the dash from Katie also towards the shower, or towards the U-shaped hallway, sorry, and it's going to be Mel and Katie drawing first blood, 2 to fall, and that is showers control lost. You still have one more inside the U-shaped hallway. It's going to be Ellie Twitches, who also unfortunately twitches down to the ground. And it's a 5-on-2 now for Cloud9 White, and even Annie Jo continuing with the performance that she has and the confidence that she has to push down towards the spawn, where the last 2 players are coming through. It is going to be that Brimstone moving forward right now as Dinos. Yeah, the stun did come out actually from that one. That was really nice. But they're going with the right clicks, and Dinos does get the kill, leaving only now 4 players alive, but in great positioning, and it's just going to be an aim battle for Katie to drop the last 2. Easy pickings to put them now at match point for the first map of the series.
This has gone by a lot quicker than I expected, I will say. Mind you, you and I had a bit of a discussion about this particular map before it started, and we actually said, which map does this actually favor? And we don't have a lot of stats to go off for Frogs, so we can really just look to C9 White and go, how does this map sort of buy? And I look over to my notes right now, and it goes, C9 has a clear lean towards maps like Ascent and Bind. So I'm sort of sitting here going, yeah, this is probably going to be a good map for C9 White. Mind you, they could still pick things up here and sort of redeem themselves a little bit. But when I said that C9 were going to be, I didn't expect them to be aggressive. Yeah, I'm wrong. I'm wrong, Vans. Take it away.
There was definitely not enough footage to see how Cloud9 White plays our defender side, because most of the notes that I have is their tendencies on the attack. And this is it right now, pushing as a group. And they are all moving towards this B site. Katie also in the back of the site. First one to drop inside Tunagan. She draws first blood here. Spike is about to get planted on the default spot, as we do have Mel as a Cypher of all agents still pushing forward with that Spectre. Gets the first kill onto Dinos, a dink onto a second one. Close range to drop down 2-4, and that's an easy triple in the end, catching Lynn off guard on the reload. And the last one to fall, and it's a flawless on top of that to make it 13-1 for C9 White over, man, I love Frogs.
I want to say many things about that match. Obviously, most of them are going to be good for C9 White. Not so positive there for Frogs. However, we do have to state this again for people who don't understand the seeding system. First place goes against 8th place. That is how it works with the seeding. It will narrow down as the lower bracket continues, so on and so forth. So Frogs aren't out of this completely just yet. But if I have to go back and sort of analyze that match as a whole, the attacking rounds were absolutely terrifying. I'm so glad that C9 White started on the opposite side, because had they started on their attack, I would have been sitting here going, oh, Vans, I'm feeling for Frogs right now.
Oh, for sure. I think they look very good again for Frogs, despite the final result that we've had. I think you're looking at Cloud9 White when they're actually pulling in the Astra into the VCT Game Changers, and this is the first time ever, at least on broadcast for me, that you actually do see Astra in play as well. So it's all question marks. You're trying to learn things out. The bigger one is C9 White, they're the heavy, let's face it, they're the heavy favorites going into this tournament, right? For the Game Changers for the whole weekend. So the question is, how do the others prepare versus Cloud9 White? And that's what I wanted to learn a little bit more from Frogs. What did they try to do? They did try to cancel out the operator from Katie, putting those smokes down. You saw the blaze walls coming out. There was a set plan to get map control with a triple duelist. But the sprays just through the smoke. The gravity wells being pulled by Katsumi with the Astra. It just doesn't allow for the Frogs to get into the sites.
It's amazing that C9 White, they've only had a little bit of time to work with what they've got to go into this particular tournament. They don't need to counter anyone. They're just ready to go regardless of their opponent. I will say, however, that once we start getting, further into the bracket, maybe I'm thinking of Dignitas, who I actually used to cast way back in another myself. And so I'm very familiar with this team, and I'm glad they've moved into VALORANT. Looks like that's where they can really reign dominantly. They're under a really good organization as well. But so was CLG Red. And when CLG Red was in that other game and I was casting them, I thought to myself, okay, Dignitas aren't the top dogs anymore. Is it CLG Red? Where am I putting myself on the spectrum of top leaderboards in the world for the women's scene? I don't know, but of the 2 names that always reigned supreme before C9 White entered the women's sphere, it was CLG Red, it was Dignitas. Always the 2 names you would bring up. So
that means we have a new player in the game, and they've been dominating the VALORANT scene. Let's see if they'll continue to dominate into the second map as we come back from this break.